Now, there's no doubt about it that as of this moment, Disney's in a real bad situation, and given that they are in a delicate position based on all the box office failures throughout 2023, and more so that they are about to actually anticipate for the remainder of this year leading into 2024, that just goes to show you that Bob Iger is one of the most incompetent CEOs of all time over at Disney, in my opinion, and how the board of directors are also very much incompetent and deliberate on exactly what's happening with the current state of pop culture whenever it comes to Disney live-action remakes, or Marvel, or Star Wars, etc., etc. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe as of right now. Now, everything ranging from Star Wars to the MCU to just Disney in general are really kind of lacking right now. And when I mean lacking, we're talking about budgeting limitations, we're talking about everything becoming a little bit more cheap, actually quite drastically cheap, based on Bob Iger's cost containment plan. But it gets worse than that. We're going to be diving into every single angle about what's going on with Marvel right now, and what Bob Iger and the Disney board recently did. So let's jump into this entire situation. Now, like I've said multiple times, it doesn't really all root down to Bob Iger and the board. If you really want to get down to the weed of it all, it's people like BlackRock and Vanguard, the two top shareholders of Disney, that are the real problem revolving around the current state of the company. Now, on top of this, with Disney currently in a very delicate situation right now since their box office failures throughout this year, one significant development surrounding Iger and, of course, the Disney board, as per the cost containment plan. Now, of course, one of the biggest updates of all for the current state of Marvel is that Disney will be moving ahead with a large phase of firings for all upcoming Marvel movies and TV shows, as Disney begins to embrace cutbacks and in pursuit of smaller scale projects that will result in the firing of crew, cast, and yes, even creators moving onwards. This is said to be a significant amount of layoffs from Marvel, movies, and shows moving onwards as well that will deeply impact the current state of the MCU by the year 2025, with ongoing phases, and is going to be a process for the next 2 whole years by Disney to focus not just on smaller scale projects and stories, but small-scaled film sets, teams working on the projects, etc. In addition to this, multiple Marvel projects are about to be cancelled as well, and with those cancellations to be announced in the next Disney earnings call for 2023, as well as during the first earnings call for 2024. These firings for the MCU due to Bob Iger's cost containment plan is a big connection to the Disney purge that is going to actually begin in early 2024, in which all Disney projects moving forward will result in becoming small-scale focused entertainment pieces in order to spend less and make less. So let me just stop here for one moment before I get to the next big piece of this development, is that this just goes to show you how much trouble Bob Iger has driven Disney into the ground. We all could also point fingers at Bob Chapek, let's be honest here. It's not all Iger's fault, but Chapek did play a role in kind of setting some of these elements up. But we all have to realize that Iger was there even before Chapek was, and he was doing a lot of damage as well, with everything ranging from Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and playing things safely with The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, that was all Iger. Let's not forget about that. He also allowed Kathleen Kennedy and gave her the go-ahead to do what she did with the Solo: A Star Wars Story by firing the original directors about 80% way through of filming that movie. That cost him millions upon millions of dollars. That really set them back quite a bit, and that's why it was such a box office fail. So we can't forget about that. We also can't forget about the fact that Bob Iger is a person that lies. This is a very bad CEO in my opinion. Now, it's also having a negative effect now, an impact on Marvel. Now look, I've said this many times. We've had the director of the Marvels who came forward just a couple of days ago that said something that was quite concerning. He said that superhero fatigue does exist, but he also pointed out that the Marvels, in isolation, is going to be a silly and wacky movie compared to all other Marvel films in existence. So take that in, guys, for a second. Just take a deep pause there for a second. The fact that this movie, The Marvels, is going to be silly and wacky compared to all other Marvel projects, be it TV shows or movies, just goes to show you how this movie is going to stick out like a sore thumb. And there's no denying the fact about that. So that brings us to the next big piece that we want to talk about here is, of course, most of the board members surprisingly agreed with Iger's plan here to embrace these firings that will go into effect sometime in the first quarter of 24. So give or take around, February to March, give or take, right? In addition to this, Iger is planning to make a big announcement about the next phase of his cost containment plan by this December that is going to make things openly clear to the general public's view and how it impacts Marvel Entertainment moving onwards. Iger reportedly greenlit this plan after the lower viewership for Secret Invasion on Disney+. And about Secret Invasion, alright, as much as I love Samuel L. Jackson, great actor, great guy, it's just kind of crazy to see that he has become a part of a project that did not meet expectations. Both viewership-wise and fan reception-wise. You've seen a lot of reviews out there. A lot of people have differing opinions on it. But what's interesting about this is the fact that they really are doubling down on this whole small-scale format, not just with Star Wars, but also with Marvel, and how it is resulting in numerous firings. And like I mentioned before, it's going to range anywhere from cast to crew members to even creators like producers, writers, and directors. So that's the problem. And it really makes you wonder, does this give James Gunn the upper hand to kind of build his DC universe to overthrow Marvel? That's the biggest question of all, and I would love to hear your opinion on that below in the comments. It is a very interesting subject, and I've had my skepticism about James Gunn before in the past, multiple times. I'm still very much skeptical about him leading the way of the DCU, how it really kind of just led to Henry Cavill's firing and getting let go as Superman. That was the big gripe that I had, personally. But yeah, I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, let's face it, has been going downhill for a while now. Whether it be story-driven wise, or box office wise, or fan reception. There's been a lot of fatigue going on, let's be honest here. So that's why they're rethinking their strategy, and it's all about spending less, making less, and a part of that, it's all about reducing your crew members, your amount of writers, creators, whatever have you, and even the stars on board. Getting, less stars that are, more embedded in that stardom that costs more for Disney. So I would like to hear what you guys have to say about the entire situation here for the MCU. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.